I'm Sheila Thompson, the creator of the Father's Day Project. You know, the role of a father has in bringing up a well-adjusted person can never be understated. What is a real man? How do you become a real man? For this topic, I reached out to my friend, public speaker, and best-selling author, Gordon Dalbey. And now, I'm really excited here to introduce to you this 10-part video series with Gordon Dalbey and Warwick Marsh. Each video in the series speaks to a specific aspect of being a man and what a boy needs to become a man in order to raise his own children. If the words resonate with you, please share it with others. And thank you. The father not only calls forth masculinity in the boy, but also femininity in the girl. The same longing for fatherly approval, it beckons women to abandon self-respect for attention.
Gordon, Healing the Masculine Soul, sold 100,000 copies. That's a lot of books to sell, especially on the issue of men and manhood. Yeah. Most publishers don't want books on manhood because they say that 80% of their audience is women. And but 100,000 copies, it must have struck a nerve. Yeah. Tell us a bit about that, and of course, Healing the Masculine Soul, what is the answer there?
Sure. Well, as I said last time, my kind of focus is that a real man is a man who's real. But in order to be real, you got to be safe. See, most of us learn as men growing up, and boys and men growing up, that if you start getting real and talking about your woundedness and your brokenness and things you can't do, and then you get kicked off the team. I mean, you're not one of the blokes anymore after that. So, and how do we begin then to heal that wound? And I think the first thing that has to be said is you've got to recognize the wound and push through that shame to say, I do have a problem. I got a wound here, and it's causing me problems in my job. I'm scared to talk to my boss. I'm scared to talk to my wife. Or if I'm single, I can't settle down with one woman or focus. And begin to realize how this wound is affecting you. Then the next step is to begin to get real with some other men and talk about, you know, and realize you're not the only guy out there like this. Because in order to make the shame go, the shame is what blocks the progress, blocks the healing. Because all you have to hear is that voice of shame that says, oh, don't talk about that, they're going to reject you. Then we shut down, and the wound festers, just like binding it up instead of bringing it out to the light. So you have to begin to realize what you missed from your father, and begin to get real.
Those hugs, those embraces, that son, hey, I'm proud of you.
Yeah, well,
you've done very well.
Yeah, and guys will say to me, look, I didn't even have a father, so how can you say I have a wound? Oh, I'll tell you.
And you know, this works for women too, doesn't it? Daughters. Tell us about daughters, just because people are going to think that we're just you know, male-centric. This is a show for men. This is a story about men. And this book is Healing Masculine Soul. But there is a huge bonus for women when the healing takes place.
Oh yes, well, I have a chapter actually in Healing the Masculine Soul on fathers and daughters and how that wound affects women. Oh, I mean. The father not only calls forth masculinity in the boy, but he also calls forth femininity in the girl. I remember when my wife Mary, who happens to be a psychologist, she told me when she was a little girl, about 4 or 5 years old, her mother would make her these dresses. When she finally gets the dress finished, she puts it on Mary, they look in the mirror, Mom says, oh, honey, what a beautiful little girl. And Mary says, let's find out. Even as a little girl, the mother, so you know what that means, all the women know, wait till Daddy comes home. And when Daddy comes home after dinner, Mom says to Mary, show Daddy your surprise. She runs in, puts on her dress, comes twirling out with her curls and her bows, and Daddy says, oh, what a beautiful little girl. And Mary says, in that moment, I knew that I knew that I knew. I am a beautiful little girl. Now, not just about physical beauty. Well, that's something that's very significant for women themselves as well as, but the character of the woman, and to bless the woman in that sense. All success in the U.S., there have been many books written about the most successful women in the world are ones whose fathers have come alongside of them in that respect. Yeah,
Maggie Thatcher, one of the first prime ministers to lead a major country in the Western world, yes. She says, I owe everything to my father.
Absolutely.
She must have had a strong father who affirmed her, who said to Maggie as a young girl, hey, you can do it. You are special, you are loved, and I honour you and I appreciate you. And of course, people rise, don't they?
They do. Well, the daughters are longing for that, but you have to ask again, what happens when a girl doesn't get that? If daddy is not there.
What does happen?
That longing for a man's approval and attention goes underground again. And you don't have to be a rocket scientist as a woman to figure out what to do to get one man's attention in this culture. Just raise your skirt up a little bit, unbutton your blouse a little bit, and pretty soon you got guys coming after you. Now, it's not for your heart, it's not for your character, it's not for who you really are, who God created you to be and wants you to be. It's for your body. I pick up my son at secondary school in the U.S. Oh, these girls they're wearing these below the navel jeans and unbuttoned blouse, and it's criminal to the boys because they're not respecting the young men and saying, look, this doesn't give you a good image of what a woman really is in her heart. I'm trying to teach my boy to...
Mind you, I think that women have been sold down the river a lot by the latter-day feminists who've gone for promiscuity, have gone for so-called sexual liberation, but they've actually reduced women to body parts, haven't they?
Well, see, the fact is that the girl who does that, where's her father to say to her before she goes out of the house, look, honey, Mary's told me this, a father's job is to teach his daughter about masculinity, talk to her about what boys. Honey, look, I know when you dress like that, you think you're being really hip, really cool, really stylish, and all the girls are going to say, ooh, isn't she something? But the boys are not thinking that. They're thinking she's going to be quick to have sex with. Yeah. Now, you're such a beautiful woman inside and out. I love you. Loved you since you were no bigger than a football. Please, my daughter, go in and put something on that shows your true character and doesn't divert men from that. But fathers aren't doing that for their daughters. And the daughters are longing for masculine attention. They're not getting it because they didn't get it from their daddy, and the only way they get it now is by sexual attention.
You know, there's another aspect to this, Gordon, no doubt you're familiar with it, to the whole anorexia. They've done studies, and a lot of times that's another aspect of a woman crying out for a father's affection and love.
Yeah, a girl learns what it's like to be close to a man, what to expect by a man from her daddy. And if daddy is not there physically or emotionally, then she looks for a man later who is not there physically or emotionally, because that feels like home. And they wonder, girls, well, how come I keep getting this kind of man who's not there for me? And I say, well, who was the first man who wasn't there for you, who defined what manly presence is? I know his name, and it's not a supernatural word of knowledge. It's Dad. And if Dad was not there, then that's your image of that's what love from a man is. He's not there, because as Daddy, he was not there. So you look for a man who's either not there emotionally, or he's just not there. He's out at the bar, or he's out with the blokes, or whatever like that.
Yeah. And of course, those addictions that all of us men, as you said, keep us running at times, it could be work, it could be the needle, it could be the drink, it could be just our obsession with sports, couldn't it?
Yeah, all these things will distract us because we don't feel adequate. We're looking for something to distract us, because to step in the arena and say, how do I be a father to that daughter who's blossoming into womanhood and terrifying me? How do I be a father to this boy when he's at a stage in his life where my dad never told me? We don't have what it takes. And that feels like shame. So when you ask about how we heal this, we first thing we got to do is we recognize we got the wound, then get together with other men, and we all got the wound. All of it. And suddenly the truth comes out. It's not like I'm afraid to tell you I'm wounded because you're going to kick me off the team. The whole team is wounded. And when somebody finally has got courage enough to break the ice, to get crucified first, shall we say, then suddenly all the other guys, that's what I do at my conferences, are all looking around saying, you too? Suddenly, whoosh.
There's a load off the shoulders, isn't there?
Oh.
There's a load off the shoulders.
Oh, yeah. But the fear goes away if we know we're all in it together. There's no more shame if we're all in it together. Yeah. So you got to start sharing with other men. Then the next thing has to be done. Out of that, getting real together, getting the shame off our backs, then we begin to look at Dad with new eyes. And we begin to say, my dad didn't hug me and tell me, not because he's such a mean guy, and not because I'm such a bad kid, but he just didn't have it to give me. And suddenly there's compassion. An old man said, men, to our conference, I said, men, whatever you don't forgive your father for, you'll do to your kids. And so you've got to learn to forgive your father. You have to see him, I like to say, with God's eyes, to see the brokenness in your dad and weep for your father and realize that he didn't give you the stuff, not because you're bad, but because he never got it. And when you can weep for your father and his brokenness, then you're on the road to forgiving him and getting on with your life as a real man.
How can you put that in, one sentence, just a very couple of sentences? I know it's difficult at times, but...
Face the wound, get with other men, drop the shame, see your dad the way God sees your dad in his reality, and let go of him and get on with what you're called to be as a man.
That's awesome, Gordon. That's just totally awesome. Thank you.
My pleasure.